If you're building AI voice agents, please stop wasting your time and money testing them on expensive platforms. Because in this video, I'm going to show you how to test them for completely free using just ChatGPT and Retell AI. If you're new here, my name's Tommy Christ. I'm the founder of Arose AI, where we've automated well over 100,000 calls using voice AI. And in doing so, I've spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours building and testing these AI voice agents. In today's video, I'm going to show you by far the easiest method of actually testing them, and it's completely free. GPT actually built internally for me and my team. I'm going to share with you for free, as well as Retell AI and their simulation testing feature, which not a lot of people know about. So let's hop into it. And now, once again, this is a super simple method of actually testing your AI voice agents. Probably the simplest method you could do while still being effective. The only platforms you need, once again, are Retell AI and ChatGPT, and those are both completely free to start with and sign up for. I don't even think you have to enter billing info for Retell AI, and then obviously ChatGPT is free. The one thing we'll be using in Retell AI is their simulation feature. If you come in here, this is just a demo sort of receptionist that I have live on my website to show people what an AI voice agent actually sounds like. And if you've ever built with Retell AI, you might have seen this tab, but you probably haven't actually used it. It's a simulation tab. It's actually super powerful, and so I'll give you like a full in-depth breakdown of how everything works there. As well as in ChatGPT, what we're going to be using is this persona generator assistant GPT that I created myself. George is actually my real first name. I go by my middle name, Thomas, Tommy. Basically what this will do is this will help us create all the personas for this Retell AI simulation. And so if you want to do this side by side with me, I urge you to click the link in the bio to join my free Skool community. There's a bunch of benefits to it, but one of them is that you can find this GPT for completely free. You go here to the classroom, to the build your agents, and then troubleshooting agents. It will be in here. There'll be another page here. And I will paste this video as well as that GPT. Why do you actually want to test your AI voice agents? Why is it important? Because if you have a production level solution you're actually delivering for a client, then it's extremely important that once you go live with that solution, especially if it's handling 100% of the calls, that it's as dialed in as possible. And this is the easiest way to sort of iron out a bunch of those kinks without having to go live, get a bunch of complaints from your client, or if you're building it for your own business, getting a bunch of complaints from the people calling it, and listening to all those calls and then just wasting a bunch of time where you could have actually prevented it by testing it beforehand. So the role of these two platforms is in ChatGPT, we're actually going to be creating their personas that will throw a couple curveballs at the voice agent and actually test it on a variety of different situations. And then Retell AI obviously is where our voice agent actually is, and we'll be running those simulations and tests. So basically what you have to do, if you want to create a bunch of personas, you can just click start here, and it'll ask you a couple of questions. And basically just based on these answers is how it will generate the persona. What I want to do, however, is just paste in this prompt. I'm going to say base it all off of this prompt. A common use case is that people often try and trip up my AI agent and make it say something bad. I've actually listened to a bunch of the calls of the people calling my AI agent through my website, and a lot of them will swear at it or try and make it swear. It's really entertaining to listen to. I mentioned it there because, again, we have these questions up here, and the better you can answer them, the more accurate the personas will be. And so now that we have generated them in a doc here, so if I go into this doc, you can see there's a couple of personas here. And basically what you want to do here is I can make this two different tabs and go to the simulation here, and then come over here to, you want to create a new test case. Or actually, I'll bring this back over so you can see it better. And basically what a test case is you're creating sort of a fake person to interact with your AI voice agent. And it's actually creating an another sort of AI voice agent with much less prompting that's talking to it. And all the talks are just happening through chat, the conversation rather. And so it doesn't actually cost a bunch of tokens or money. Basically what you want to do here is you want to come, and so persona 1 is this curious startup founder. And so put that as the name. The user prompt will just be this information here. I actually don't define any success criteria because I like to look at every conversation myself and then determine from that whether it was successful or not. And then down here, this is actually really cool. We're not going to dive into this right now because this agent doesn't actually support this. But what you can do here with the test variable and mocks is if you have some sort of inbound agent or an outbound caller where you enter the variables. So say when someone calls in, I want to check if they're in my CRM. I can do that, and from here I can enter in a pre-existing name or previous conversations and simulate there being variables if there are variables in your prompt. And then on the other hand, if you have functions in your prompt, for example, I have this, I don't actually have a function in this prompt, in this agent, but if I did, what I would do is I would select that, and then I can enter sort of a mock result so that perhaps you just don't want to keep calling the API over and over, or you just always want to pretend like the call is booked or the call is not booked. Then you can enter that mock result, sort of simulate that situation happening with a custom function, and then as well mentioning the dynamic variables. But this is a super simple use case where this is just persona 1, and save that. Did I have to delete that and then save this? And then what you want to go through and do is do this for every single test case. And so it should be about 10 of them that this AI generates, this generator creates. However, feel free to do more. Feel free to edit them, ask the AI to revise them. This is all completely up to your control. And I'm just going to do 3 here and then show you what to do after you have a bunch of these test cases in here. So now that I have 3 different test cases, and then in actual production, I would do all 10 and then revise them and maybe do 20, 30, just depending on how the agent is performing. And so what you want to do is you want to select all of these and then hit run test. And basically what it's doing right now is it's having a conversation with all of those agents and seeing how it performs and sort of having these, like it says, a test case. So I'm actually glad we ran into this error here because you can see all these conversations ended up looping a bunch. It's because neither of them actually had the ability to end the call. And so you see here, it was just like, absolutely, I'll make sure to include, thanks so much, you're welcome, thanks again. And they just kept going back and forth, being very kind to each other, as well as in here. So what I will do is I'll make sure it has the end call function here. You actually don't have to put a description in there, I just did. And then I'm gonna mark down in this example to end call. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna run one test case and see how it performs. And you can see all these are saved on the left-hand side here. And hopefully it does not loop once again and actually performs. Once again, if you were able to define like a good success criteria, which again, I don't really recommend, it would end up in these test cases, would end up in the pass and failed column. You can see all 3 of these failed because they're all errored out. However, if you have really clear success criteria, as in, once again, like a call being booked, they could end up in the passed, and then you could also check the ones in the failed. And so here we go. This one you can see passed, likely because it did not error out. And so checking on this, you can really just walk through this conversation. This is where a lot of your debugging will happen. One thing I sometimes like to do is copy and paste this, go back into ChatGPT, start a new chat, just like a temporary chat or something, and say, grade this conversation and tell me what went well and what went wrong. And then what's the name of my AI agent? Probably should know that. Sarah is my AI receptionist how can I better prompt her? And then it'll grade it. And again, this is sort of arbitrary, the actual grade it gives, but you can see sort of where it recommends to change some things. And then obviously the most in-depth way of actually editing these, going in and actually reading it yourself, which on your first actual test, I recommend doing. And so some things I might notice about this call specifically is these are just really long responses she's giving. And like these are multi sentences, and it's her talking for a while, where I'd sort of prefer if it was more conversational. One thing she is doing very well is I don't see any M dashes. Now, if you've built and tested voice agents before, you know M dashes sound really weird, and AI loves to include them. You can see the other AI agent did it. Um, and so, yeah. So based on this, I feel like this conversation went generally pretty well. The only thing, again, I would change is just the length of these responses. After doing this, and in about 10 minutes, you should have at least 10, perhaps even more test cases that you can review and full on conversations, dynamic conversations, review and iterate on based on 10 completely different personas. I actually made this GPT to create personas that specifically challenge the agent and give it a wide variety of different types of conversations. And then I also encourage you to explore GPT more depth on your actual use case so that you can have a lot more really just in-depth and accurate personas to test it out. And so thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to actually work with me and my